Being someone that is into 3D art and game making, I sometimes analyze the art and environment of my favorite games to learn how they are made so I can apply it to my own art afterwards. From Software is known for their environmental storytelling in Dark Souls and Bloodborne, and Elden Ring similarly is filled with huge biomes, castles and dungeons, each with their own distinct style. In this video I'm ranking my top 30 environments in the Elden Ring base game. Before I start with the list, I want to explain how I picked locations and what rules I followed. One way I filter locations is by following the Site of Grace and location pages on the Extra Life wiki. Basically, if the location has a title drop or is a legendary dungeon, it will be included. I decided to include all of the castles, meaning Castle Sol, Shaded Castle, Castle Morne and Redmane Castle. There were some locations I had to skip simply because I thought I wouldn't have much to say about them, for example Lucaria Manor, and other locations that I simply forgot about, like Dominula, the Windmill Village, and more commonly known as the Dancing Village. And some locations I included simply because of their uniqueness, even if I personally was not a fan of the location. I tried to stay away from boss areas, as that could be a video by itself, but that proved hard to follow, as some areas have the boss area entwined with the rest of the location, making it hard not to talk about the boss area. Lastly, the difficulty of the area and enemies will not be taken into account, but the music, lore and setting will. This is what I mean by setting. I looked into what type of feeling or atmosphere the location conveyed with its nature, buildings, weather effects, etc. What the lore of the location is, and if it's shown just by the environmental storytelling alone, and if the music helped in establishing the setting. This is of course all subjective. These rules have led to some areas having quite an advantage over others. Huge areas like Limgrave with varying environments have many more quirks than for example Roundtable Hold, that is very small in comparison. Large continental locations like Limgrave also have the benefit of having their own soundtrack, rather than the same recycled music that smaller locations tend to have. And that's all of the rules. One last thing. Since I had to play through the entire base game to visit all locations and capture footage, there's a big spoiler warning that has to follow for the entire Elden Ring base game. Let's start with the list. Number 30, Castle Sol. I put Castle Sol at the bottom of the list because it's the least interesting location in my opinion. Being a normal FromSoftware castle, it still looks good, and the snowy castle aesthetic works, but that's the most I can say about it. The environmental storytelling is weak here, despite its importance in Miquella's journey. Number 29, Roundtable Hold. Like Castle Sol, Roundtable Hold looks good, but I don't find many things here compelling. Game design wise, it's a very well made location, being the hub for the player. I also quite like the giant grace and the appearance of the two fingers. The fingers' presence here adds a sinister feeling to the area. Lore-wise, the location is of utmost importance, where many important NPCs reside, but in appearance, it looks just like a standard medieval location. Number 28, Mohgwyn Palace. If you were to describe it, Mohgwyn Palace sounds kind of cool. A great palace sitting by a blood lake. In game, however, I think the execution doesn't quite land. The blood lake doesn't look convincing or scary enough, and the palace design doesn't quite hook me, especially when most of it is hidden in the dark. One thing I do like is the blood that's splattered on the rocks in various places. It's something that feels dreadful and is unique to the location. Number 27, Nokron and Nokstella, Eternal Cities. I added Nokron and Nokstella together as they are both eternal cities that look very similar. It feels strange to put them this low, but I'm just not vibing with them. They are wide-reaching areas with intricate buildings and pillars. but everything just feels so empty. You run for minutes and it's just more of the same, which is probably what From's intention was. The Eternal Cities for me is an example of areas with great craftsmanship, but with an unexciting setting. Number 26, Lake of Rot. Lake of Rot has an interesting lore. It is said that the essence of an outer god is sealed in this land. This rot apparently is not connected to Malenia, but it's the same kind of rot. The area, however, is a bit lackluster. Similar to Mohgwyn Palace, the lake water doesn't look convincing enough. Imagine if From had more time for this place, how nasty and repulsive the rot weather could look. The buildings are large and epic in size, but feel mundane. The whole area is vast and empty, with few intriguing features. Number 25, Moonlight Altar. A beautiful landscape basking in moonlight. The things we find here are nice, but not very unique. Everything from the nature to the ruins are things we have already seen before at this point. The only truly unique thing is the moonlight, which looks great but doesn't place the location any higher. Number 24, Consecrated Snowfield. It reminds me a bit of the frigid outskirts from Dark Souls 2. I think the area has a strong setting and good music. It's a different experience to ride around while having difficulty to see. The downside is that it becomes frustrating to navigate eventually. One thing that I like a lot are these kind of cliff formations that can be found only here. Number 23, Wailing Dunes. Here is one location that is a boss area, but that I had to include anyway. Mostly due to its great size, making it more of a location than a boss area. The countless weapons from Radahn's and Malenia's armies tell a tale of an epic battle that was held here. And later on the same place will be where Radahn finally meets his end by the hands of the Tarnished. Number 22, Swamp of Aoenia. We're following up with another Caelid location. Swamp of Aoenia is a very important location, as it's said that this is where Malenia first bloomed, permanently changing the landscape of Caelid into a wasteland of rot. Being the epicenter of her first bloom, even the water has been contaminated. Unlike Lake of Rot, the swamp has many more interesting features, thus placing it higher. Here, there is still some of Caelid's vegetation surviving. It's been overtaken by the scarlet rot, but it still clings to life. Number 21, Deeproot Depths. A large landscape surrounded by roots from a great tree. The tree meanwhile has been infected by a death root due to the unfortunate death of Godwyn. There are tilted ruins that are spread out in a chaotic manner. The walking mausoleum and its knights is an interesting addition. The entire location is strange and chaotic, and I enjoy it. The fact that the tree roots are walkable make for a very fun map layout. Number 20, Volcano Manor, the home of Praetor Rykard. I would place Volcano Manor lower if it wasn't for the Temple of Eglei. As with Lake of Rot and Mohgwyn Palace, there is a liquid texture that is prevalent through the area. While the lava is slightly better than the rot and blood, it's still not good enough to elevate the location. It has a nice layout with the castle interiors, the small houses outside, and the lava surrounding the area is quite fun to navigate around. As for Temple of Eglei, the brilliant mix of the red candles, the pillars, the lighting, the chains, the carpet and the snake statues create a wonderful location. Everything is so red, but the difference in hue and texture blend everything nicely to create a masterpiece in environment design. Number 19. Raya Lucaria Academy. Raya Lucaria has majestic towers, fun level design, and a strong mystical feeling. It plays around a lot with height, and the whole dungeon is exciting to explore. It feels very magical, especially because you see literal magic particles flying around. Number 18. Redmane Castle. There are two things that place Redmane Castle above other locations on this list. The first is the entrance. The castle looks fiery with the red color of Caelid shining behind it. As you ride towards the castle, Rodan's men try hard to kill you. An amazing introduction to an area. The other thing is the arena where we fight the two bosses. The introduction to the Rodan festival. You can feel the importance of this place. There were weapons hanging all around you, and the festival soundtrack really gives you the feeling that this castle is all about battle. Number 17. Weeping Peninsula. A peninsula right outside Limgrave, named so for the prevalent rain in the area. Its nature is very similar to Limgrave, but what distinguishes it is the beautiful plain where the mausoleum walks, and the long beach that feels so sorrowful when it rains. Number 16. Crumbling Farum Azula. An area like no other. Farum Azula stands by the end of time, engulfed in hurricanes and dragons. I love the ancient architecture of the buildings, and the floatiness of it all makes it fun to traverse while being chaotic at the same time. Number 15. Castle Morne. Standing at the end of the Weeping Peninsula is Castle Morne. The castle has been overrun by the servants that have rebelled. For me, the misbegotten rebellion adds a lot of dark atmosphere to the castle. The asymmetric elements of the dead bodies and the fires work very well. It's one of the few examples of a recent event in the lands between. Castle Morne is simply a great area with a fun and easy map design with an interesting background. Number 14. Mount Gelmir. This mountainous area, preceding Volcano Manor, is very unsettling. Rykard's bloodlust and never-ending quest for power can clearly be seen in the surroundings. There are dead bodies everywhere, hanging as a warning, or is collected in piles. The color palette is distinctly different from Leyndell, being a bit colder, but the nature is still pleasing somehow. Reaching the top of the mountain is part of the adventure. Number 13. Miquella's Haligtree. Hidden far away to the north lies Miquella's Haligtree, a great tree created by Miquella to replace the Earth Tree. On top of the canopy, we start and walk through the branches. Beautifully crafted buildings and platforms wrap around the Haligtree. The whole area is wonderfully detailed, from the great tree to the elegant buildings, and the nature blends in perfectly with the buildings. The Haligtree area has great colors. The ambience is blue as the sky, the buildings scream white, and a touch of red from the scarlet rot. Number 12. Frenzied Flame Proscription. Deep below Leyndell lies a secret location. A dark maze filled with the corpses of the nomadic merchants. There is no soundtrack here, but one merchant plays their song. The location looks scary and unsettling, but after you stayed a while you realize that it's harmless. You hear the melancholy of the song. This is their final rest place. Number 11, Stormveil Castle. Stormveil Castle is a very fun and well-made dungeon. It's very varied in its structure. You enter through a cool cliffside, you navigate through small corridors, run on the rooftops, and fight Godric's army on the courtyard. Below the castle you find a strange face growing out of the ground. I love how overly complex the castle is. To reach Godric takes a few minutes, but if you want to explore the whole castle it will take hours. Stormveil stands out in its complexity. It feels like solving a great puzzle. It's a pleasure to explore and has a great soundtrack. We have only the top 10 left, so everything from here is gonna be only the best of the best. Starting with number 10, Divine Towers. I've combined all of the Divine Towers into one location. The one I want to talk about specifically is the one next to Stormveil Castle. This tower has a fantastic introduction. Trying to reach the tower while the golems slowly rise to attack you feels monumental. The gong from the soundtrack symbolizes how divine and important the location is. Once you reach the tower, the adventure continues. The tower is exquisitely detailed, and the long elevator ride builds up tension as you go higher up the tower. The journey concludes at the top of the tower by a stunning circular structure. In the center lies a dead finger. I end up leaving the tower with more questions than I had before entering. Number 9, Limgrave. From certainly went all out with this location, since it's the first major location. It's a location that's all about the nature and ruins. There's a deep history in this place, and many strange locations to visit. Although the location is filled with fantastic nature, it is heavily contrasted by dark elements, like the many crucified bodies scattered through the lands. The music also tells us a strange story. It's graceful, but there are some hints of a darker secret about it. I love the usage of colors. Where the grasslands and trees are green, a few trees are orange, and the gigantic earth tree is golden, which creates a feeling of autumn. Limgrave is probably the most content-filled location of them all, with plenty of caves, ruins and strange paths to explore. Number 8, Caelid. Caelid, welcome to your nightmare. Caelid is the opposite of what Limgrave is. While Limgrave is beautiful and rich in nature, Caelid is barren and ugly. It's gross and menacing. I imagine most players stumble upon Caelid by chance, either by taking a detour from Limgrave or by getting teleported from a random chest. And I reckon everyone's reaction is the same. What the fuck is this place? Which is what makes Caelid so intriguing. It's utterly disgusting, and the soundtrack enhances that feeling of discomfort. The red sun makes the location stand out from everything else we've seen at this point of the game. There is of course some high level art in Caelid as well. The rot fungi looks nasty, but is highly detailed, and the map looks clustered, but is actually very easy to follow. Nothing feels quite like Caelid. There are many things to do here, but you always feel uneasy while doing them. Number 7, the Shaded Castle. What I've enjoyed about making this list is that I had to go into the areas with an open mind and compare them to each other. And I was surprised that I ended up placing Shaded Castle among the top 10. The start of the area is okay. It's a big area of castle ruins and a green poison swamp at the bottom. Once you reach the higher part of the castle, the greatness begins. As you enter, a number of statues greet you. The statues vary in sizes and poses, and we have no idea why they are there. They have a disturbing presence. The castle is falling to pieces, but still looks beautiful when it's covered in greenery in the colors of fall. The lighting in the area is fantastic. It's an incredible mix of objects being either lit or in shadow, creating a fine dynamic. At the end, you find the biggest collection of statues yet, and behind them an elegant chamber, featuring a painting of Malenia. Number 6. Altus Plateau. Altus Plateau is similar to Limgrave in many ways. There are huge grasslands, cliffy areas, and many trees cover the surroundings. Where it differs, first and foremost, is in color. While Limgrave feels green, Altus Plateau is more red and orange. It's majestic in its design. The great paved roads and big statues symbolize the might of the Golden Order. As you pass through the gates, the area starts to change a bit. A bit less nature and more great stone structures. But what's truly different is the appearance of a giant battlefield, evidence of the shattering war that was here. Altus Plateau is a very memorable area. It feels mighty, royal and epic. Number 5. Elphael, the Promised Lands. Elphael, base of the Haligtree. At the base of the Haligtree, a great fortress stands to protect its roots. Malenia's and Miquella's troops are patrolling the area. Elphael is a beautiful location, featuring phenomenal buildings, intricate design, and perfect lighting. The location feels grand and harmonious. The citadel is covered in roots and flowers that fits in greatly with the environment. The story Elphael and the Haligtree tells us is that Miquella and Malenia are very beloved. There are more races of creatures here than in any other location, and everything in the surrounding looks spotless, like it's being taken care of. It tells us of the siblings' might. Elphael stands strong, its walls reach far and wide, and the citadel is protected in every corner. Number 4. Siofra River. In Limgrave's Mistwood, we find a peculiar building. It houses an elevator that leads deep into the below. The elevator ride turns out to be very long as it slowly reveals an entire underground landscape, Siofra River. The huge landscape is covered by many ruins from an ancient civilization. The ceiling is a starry sky, and there are even other locations that can be seen in the distance. I, as probably many others, like this location because it's such a surprise. No one is expecting that a secret area is hidden below Limgrave, especially not one as big as Siofra River. What makes the Siofra River really stunning is the nature being illuminated by the starry sky and the various ruins towering over the player, really giving a sense of scale. The ruins have different designs, giving the impression that there is a deep history here, perhaps from different time periods. Number 3. Mountaintops of the Giants. The mountaintops are quite atmospheric locations. It really feels like you are on top of the world. The snow looks perfect, and the area is very interesting with its many cliffs, snowy landscape, mountain passes and paths. The area is very varied. There's even a large frozen lake part. My favorite part is the chains working as bridges and the massive Forge of the Giants. It's a huge and empty location, but I don't mind traversing it since everything looks so pretty and there's a lot to see. Number 2. Leyndell Royal Capital. I believe that from a technical standpoint, Leyndell, the Royal Capital, is the most impressive location. There are many beautiful buildings all over, and the Golden Dome looks spectacular. Flowers and flower beds are spread out all over Leyndell, making it majestic and colorful. Gransax's enormous corpse casts shadow over the entire city, and the city surrounds the massive and brilliant Erdtree. As you hear, there are many parts that make Leyndell whole, and every part is highly detailed and well made. It makes sense that this was the home base of the Golden Order back in the day. I really love Leyndell. It's so beautiful to look at, and it's the kind of environment I admire, because it mixes nature with architecture in such a pleasing way. I would love it if more of our world looked more like Leyndell. Truly, Leyndell is the best the game has to offer. It would stand at the top if it wasn't for the following location. It's launch day. Elden Ring has just been released, and I'm playing it on PC. I'm having a bug where some enemies are completely invisible, but I don't care. I'm playing freaking Elden Ring on launch. While walking around aimlessly in Limgrave, I come across a bridge leading to a cliff walk. I follow the cliff walk and end up here. I follow the lake atop torrent, and I can hear noises from enemies in the distance. I have no idea if torrents fast running alert enemies or not, but I decide to get off torrents and crouch walk ahead to not attract them. Minutes go by as I walk slowly across the lake, avoiding enemies by walking away from them, and I activate all the sights of graces I see, and continue my journey ahead on the west lake landscape. Here it is, number 1. Liurna of the Lakes. It does not get better than this. The beautiful lake landscape, the fog crawling through the trees, the magic crystals distinct to Liurna, the strange enemies floating above, and Raya Lucaria hanging ominously in front of us. Everything ties together to create an environment oozing with mystery. It doesn't have the best soundtrack or the best technical execution, but it excels in its setting. The soundtrack perfectly conveys the feeling of the environment, which is why Liurna of the Lakes takes the top spot as the best environment in Elden Ring. Nothing else comes close. It's my personal favorite that best presents a setting. It's the reason I even started making this list. It's mystical, magical, scary, epic and beautiful all at the same time. Thank you for watching if you made it this far. I'm so happy that the video is done. It took me months to make. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed it and want to see more. This is not an Elden Ring channel, but I plan to make more similar videos, and I could do a top boss locations or cover the locations of Shadow of the Erdtree if there is enough interest. Wish you all a happy day. Bye.